And we've been joined by Coach Tony Levine from Houston. We said the Cougars were in action last Friday. They beat Southern 62-13. This week, Houston will be at Temple in the first American Athletic Conference League game. That will be a noon Eastern Time start. It will be the American Game of the Week on ESPN Regional. Coach, thanks for joining us on the call today. If you take a minute to tie up the win against Southern from last Friday, and then tell us what you're looking forward to as you begin conference play this Saturday up at Temple.
Well, it was good to get the first game under our belt and certainly the first win. Got a chance to play a lot of players, get a lot of guys in our program experience, and it was a great evaluation for us as coaches. We had a great crowd. It was at Reliance Stadium, and again, a lot of things we need to correct in a short amount of time as we head up to Philadelphia here on Friday. But again, looking forward to this next game and working on our game plan right now.
Any questions for Coach Tony Levine, please hit *1 on your telephone to join the queue, and the operator will introduce you. And we can go ahead with the first question, please.
Our first question comes from Christopher Heidel with Herb FM Radio, Baltimore.
Hey, Coach Tony. Talk about coming to Philadelphia. What's it like going to be playing in Philadelphia, where a lot of Temple teams, a lot of the area sports love their football? Just talk about going to Philly.
Well, it's a completely new environment, certainly for our student athletes, but even for our fan base, in our program. Again, just being in a new conference and one that is, predominantly on the East Coast. It's going to be different, and it's exciting for our program. I'm certainly well aware, just as not only a coach but a sports fan, of what the tremendous fan support and fan base is like in that region of the country, and it'll be a great experience for everybody in our program, not only our staff but our student athletes rather, but our staff. So we're looking forward to getting up there. I checked the weather a little bit yesterday, and while it's in the high 90s and humid here, it doesn't appear like it's going to be, at least temperature-wise, that extreme Saturday morning. But so it'll be different in a lot of respects, and I think our guys will be excited to make the journey up there.
Did you get a chance to watch the Temple Notre Dame game? What did you see from them playing against Notre Dame?
I thought they did a great job, and again, they're playing an opponent that their previous game was in the national championship, so and on the road. So it's again, a year ago at this time, I was a first-year head coach getting a team ready to play, and I know there's certainly. Regardless of first year, second year, or 15th year, there's a lot that goes into that, and to go on the road and play Notre Dame the way they did was impressive. They got tremendous athletes in their program, and when you look at their depth chart and the guys that are playing, you see a lot of FRs for freshmen and SOs for sophomores in the two deep. So, to go on the road. With the transition to the Coach Rule and his new staff, I thought Temple did a great job.
Talk about what do you guys need to do on Saturday to get better. Is there something you have to work on?
Well, we're going to have to work on a number of things. I mean, I don't look at national stats ever. I just don't have time to. And but we've got to be the worst in the country right now statistically in penalties per game. We had 14 penalties for 126 yards, and it negated another 100 yards of total offense. So, in my mind, we had 226 yards of penalties, and really it starts there. There's always going to be some things in execution and making plays that we can continue to improve on. But I thought our energy was good. I thought we played fast, and our kids played hard. Of turnovers, we were +4 in the turnover ratio. So that's always something that's important in terms of winning football games.
Well, Coach, good luck on the trip to Philly.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, *1 if you do have a question at this time. We'll go next to Joseph Duarte with the Houston Chronicle.
Hey, good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Joseph.
Hey, I just wanted you've talked about being when you were at Louisville, being part of a team that made the transition to a new conference. What are some of the things you either talk with your staff or players or tell the team about making that transition to a league that you're not necessarily familiar with?
Part of it, what comes to mind initially when you ask me that question is recruiting. And again, we've known this move was coming for a couple of years, and I think we began to address it 2 years ago in recruiting the last two classes here. So in terms of moving to the American Athletic Conference, and with our program specifically, the addition of the new stadium next year have both really helped in recruiting and helped our sales pitch, if you will, going out and continuing to show and tell young men why they should come to the University of Houston. So I think it starts there, and we've been able to not only add quality student athletes, but continue to build our depth across the board. I think the second thing is you certainly have to make your student athletes aware of the style of play in the league, and in this transition. And again, it's the same thing as you mentioned, when I was an assistant at Louisville almost 10 years ago, going from Conference USA to what was then the Big East. The style of play is very, very different, not only offensively but defensively. So that's something we certainly addressed in the spring and the way we practiced against each other, and it's something we've continued here the last 4 or 5 weeks heading into the first conference game.
And Tony, off the other night, we didn't get to ask you, but some of the other young guys that you got in the game, like John Leday who scored, what did you see from those guys that you like just to get them in the game, first game of the year? Well,
a couple things, and it goes back, and Joseph, you heard me say this before, we tell all the freshmen, if you're physically ready to play and mentally ready to play, and you break into the two deep, you're going to play as a true freshman. So we think, when you talk about John Leday, there were some guys that were on the borderline playing the other night that we did not play because we're not sure that they will play this season. And maybe they're physically ready and mentally ready, but they didn't break into the 2D. Maybe they're third string at a certain position. So we held on to that red shirt at least for one game. John Leday, we feel like, is going to help us this year. He's going to be a key contributor. So there's a chance to get him. He played 29 plays on offense. So that's a lot of football for one game for an 18-year-old. And any true freshman we played in the game the other night, even Tyler McCloskey, he played 27 plays. So they played significantly, and it's a way to develop them and see their improvement over the course of the year. And again, when you look back on the guys we played last year, and you look at the quality reps they got as a true freshman in 2012 and the improvement they made, you look at a Deontay Greenberry, what he did the other night, Ryan Jackson, what he did the other night, Tommy Mark had an interception. So, the guys, the more they play, the better they'll get, but we're not going to put a guy out there and let him play 8 snaps and then he not play much the rest of the season and in theory waste his true freshman year.
Thank you.
And do we have any other questions for Coach Levine, please? Coach, well, thank you for your time this week and look forward to talking to you again next Monday.
Likewise, thank you.
All right, and that is Houston at Temple, noon Eastern on Saturday in the American Athletic Conference Game of the Week on ESPN Regional Television.